This is just a quick test of the chessboard recognition capabilities of some of the LLMs that's out there. Initially, I was just testing Gemini 1.5 Pro since I got access from the waitlist, and I thought if I can give it a whole lot of labeled data, would it be able to eventually get really good at recognizing where the pieces are on a chessboard? And the first question kind of convinced me it's not even worth trying. So this is the board on the left, and the first question I asked it was, black rooks on A8 and F8, so here and here. What squares are the white and black rooks on? I thought it was a chance that it would get it right for the wrong reasons, just because sometimes it kind of mirrors what you do, but it stuck to whatever it knows about chess and said white rooks are on A1 and H1, so their starting positions basically. So that's what I've kind of found with Gemini 1.5 Pro is sometimes when it doesn't know, it'll just go based off its knowledge a lot more than the image that you give it. And I've even asked it in some other situations, like, how'd you come to this conclusion? And it would say, it's knowledge of chess. And then I started trying to ask it, well, using the board, answer the question and stuff. So just be aware of that, I guess, that sometimes it'll just use its knowledge instead of the image unless you specifically tell it to reference the image. Okay, but then, so that's 1.5. So ChatGPT, turns out it does really well on a lot of these cases. So it actually says the white rooks on A1 and F1. So it got those correct. And then I also tried Gemini Ultra, which is when you pay for Gemini Advanced. And Gemini Advanced, I guess it has to be the prompting that they have like internally when they show the web interface, but it's just really wordy and doesn't really answer the question most of the time. So it says, I'll leave you to read that if you want. You can pause the video. Basically, you just can't really tell like the board for some reason. And that happens a lot, I find. So Gemini 1.5 seems a little bit better than Ultra, but I would imagine if you had X to Ultra here, it would also be better because it seems like theirs are more to the point for the most part. Whereas Gemini Advanced kind of just goes on all kinds of different tangents, even if you look through the drafts. So let's take a look at the next one. What square is the white bishop on? So we know here it's on c4. It says c3. So c3 actually has a pawn on it. But at least it answered the question, like it attempted. Um, and then ChatGPT says c4. So it gets it right. And then this one it says in the image sent, white bishop is on d3. d3 has nothing on it. It's located on a light square in the center of the board. It does get the color of the square correctly, which is cool, but I feel like even that's 50-50 because sometimes you ask it what color is D3 square, and it'll say like black. So this is also probably the most concise answer I've seen from Gemini Advanced today. Okay, so next one, there's a white pawn on c3, what is on c4? And I ask this question because sometimes if you just ask where the bishop is, it just doesn't know. So maybe if you give it a hint like, okay, there's a white pawn here, what's like above it pretty much? This is a black pawn. So it's just kind of guessing, I feel like, using its own knowledge. Like if you were to ask that without a chessboard, it might just say that for some reason. Um, well, it did say it looked at the image and saw that. But yeah. Okay, then we look at this one. ChatGPT got it right. But it got the other one right, so it's expected that it would get this one right. Because it got it without help. And this one, it says there's a white pawn on c3 and a black pawn on c4. So this one also says a black pawn on c4. I think that's what it, yeah. And then it also gives a whole lot of extra things talking about this is likely the opening, which is kind of like the end of the opening. I would say it's probably the middle game, but whatever. But it gives a lot of extra details, which is kind of annoying because you ask a question, you kind of just want the point instead of it giving a lot of extra details if you didn't ask for it. Okay, so what square is the white bishop on? So this is actually the next position. So now the bishop is on e3 here. And it says c3. There's nothing on c3 in this position. ChatGPT says c1. So this is one that it gets wrong. And c1 is the starting square for this bishop anyway. But, so yeah, it's doing the same thing where it's thinking about what's the starting square of the bishop. And I don't know if that's like a temperature thing, because if you ask what square do some of the chess pieces start on, that would be in its data probably more times than not. And then let's see what Ultra says. Bishop on f4. It's really good at picking squares that has no pieces. That goes for all of them pretty much when I get them wrong. So yeah, nothing's on f4. Okay, so this one, upload 2 pictures to see if this would help. If we say like there's a white bishop on, so this is just both pictures. If we say if there's this white bishop here on c4, in the next picture, what square is the bishop on? So to try to help it recognize what the bishop looks like and this color scheme for the board, because I feel like even if it gets things right or wrong with this board, you could switch the theme and maybe it'll be better or worse for different reasons as well. So this is like, I don't know if you would call this a benchmark, but it would be easy to create more situations where you're asking the same question but with different themes, and I think that could still determine which one is better overall. But let's see, white bishop is on d3 in the second picture. No, d3 is empty. This one says e3, it gets it right. And oh, I can't ask that for Ultra, because if you can only upload one picture at a time. So, but it probably would have got it wrong anyway. You don't have to worry about that. So next question, what square is the black king on? And that's for this picture. And this one, they're actually pretty good at this for some reason. So this Gemini 1.5 says h7. ChatGPT says h7. And then Ultra says I can't tell the color of the square of the black king. It appears the image is flipped horizontally and the squares are labeled incorrectly. I don't think so. And then it talks about the black king starts on e8 and the square is black. Well, e8 is white, so if we can give negative points, we should probably do that for all of Gemini Advanced answers. Okay, so next one lists all of white's pieces and what squares they're on, separated by a comma. It didn't really give the format I was looking for, but whatever. It did get kind of close, so there's rook on a1, pawn on a2. There's actually no pawn on b2, so that's wrong. There is a pawn on c2. It missed the pawn on c3. I also said pawn on e2. Pawn on f2. No. For both of those. Pawn on g2, yes. Rook on h1, no. King on g1, yes. Queen on d1, no. Those are starting squares. Queen on d3, no. So it thinks there's 2 queens. Bishop on c4. It actually got the bishop on c4 this time. So we got a lot of stuff wrong. A lot of the pawns it put on the starting squares, like I was talking about before. So it didn't really do that. Let's see, ChatGPT. Rook on a1, yes. Pawn on a2, yes. Pawn on c3, yes. Missed a pawn on c2. Bishop on c4, yes. Queen on e3, yes. Pawn on f3, no. Rook on f1, yes. Pawn on g3, yes. Missed a pawn on g2, but he got the king on g1. So that's pretty good. Like, it made a couple of mistakes, but it really understood a lot of things. It didn't give you 2 queens. It told you exactly the square the queen was on, got you the bishop and the rook. Like, it's doing a whole lot just from that prompt. So there is something a lot better about ChatGPT's labeling of chess pieces from reading an image of a chessboard. So, and then I didn't bother to try Ultra with this. You just know it wouldn't be good. So I am looking forward to when Ultra comes out. Like if they had an Ultra 1.5, like hopefully that would be better. But it seems like if I don't know if I did the math right, but ChatGPT got like 5 out of 7, and Gemini 1.5 got 1 out of 7, and then Gemini Ultra got nothing right. But also keep in mind that 2 of these, like asking what square the bishop is on, ChatGPT-4 got it right without help, so 2 of those were kind of like a freebie for it, because if it gets one right, it's going to get the other one right. But Gemini got both of them wrong. So, but it's still like a big difference in the consistency between ChatGPT 4 versus Gemini 1.5 for the image recognition at least. So, I mean, that's not the point of Gemini 1.5. I know it's like the 1 million context, but yeah, that was interesting because I didn't really have access to the image model because like 1.0 Pro, you can't upload images. This is the first time you actually have images in the AI Studio thing. So that's my mini review of the image capabilities for these. Seems like ChatGPT-4 is still on top, and I look forward to the day when a model can just perfectly recognize all chess pieces all the time without making mistakes.